All right, welcome to episode 4, I believe, of our Bangor Daily News Sports Show. I'm your host, Adam Robinson, with my co-host, Larry Mahoney.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for tuning in again. We are going to jump right into basketball here, and we're going to start with AA North. On the boys' side, I'll just start here, Larry. Last night, Oxford Hills had a scare against Portland. They went on an 18-8 fourth quarter run and beat Portland 48-47 and advanced to 7-0. Now Portland's 5-2. Portland was a team that I was looking at the beginning of the year. They've got really good guards, but this would have been an upset, just like if the Oxford Hills girls lose
Right.
this season. It'll most likely be an upset. Maybe Chevrolet can
Chevrolet or Bangor.
Bangor
Bangor beat them once last year during the regular season.
right. And we'll get into the girls in a second, but I thought this was a really good win. Earlier in the week, Tegan Pelletier had like a 29-point game, I think, against Hamden. And he played really well against Portland.
So is Portland at the head of the pack, chasing Oxford Hills? Is that the one team they need to fear, or is there another?
Well, I think it's at the top. It's 5-2 Lewiston, 5-2 Portland, and then 6-2 Chevrolet. I think those are the three teams, and I think Portland and Chevrolet are probably, if you're going to look at it, the teams that you need to worry about. I watched Chevrolet play Hamden last week, and Chevrolet is the real deal. They have that Silvano Ismail, who is a point guard, but he's probably 6'1" and has really long arms. And had 3 or 4 blocks on different Hamden kids. He grabbed a bunch of rebounds. He can shoot from deep. He can go to the hoop really well, defend. So he does it all. So I think it's going to be that Portland group and that Chevrolet group that's going to battle.
What would be the Oxford Hills Achilles heel? Depth, inside. Where can they struggle?
Well, I think it would be
trouble.
Yeah, foul trouble. I think it would be inside. Last year they had the AA North Defensive Player of the Year on their team, and then they also lost their 6'10" center. So losing guys like that, they still have Tanner Bickford inside. Tegan Pelletier's got really good size. He's 6'7", 6'8", but they don't have the post presence. Isaiah Ofiero was the Defensive Player of the Year last year. He was a guard, but he was really tough and big bodied. So
Pelletier's more of a finesse. 6'7" finesse, not a banger.
Right. No, he's not making he's not making a lot of post moves.
Okay.
He can shoot, he can go to the hoop. Probably, I mean, he can rebound with the best of them, but he's not. If you're
he's not physical, he's not a big physical. Yeah. Somebody a shot blocker.
He might have turned into one now at his size. I'm sure that he's athletic, so he can probably block shots, but he's not the post guy, the stereotypical one you would think of. So I guess if you were trying to find a weakness in this Oxford Hills team, it would probably be that.
How problematic would it be if he got in foul trouble?
I think it would be kind of problematic. Their point guard Cole Pulkinen can score and he can do a lot, but if they lose Tegan to foul trouble or any kind of injury, God forbid,
or just have an off night,
they're susceptible to a loss.
Okay.
So it's a fun region so far. Oxford Hills, like I said, 7-0, and then they got 3 teams chasing them. And that Lewiston team with Yusuf Dakane, they're right on their trail. They got a big win against Hamden last night. So it'll be fun to see it shake out. You want to head over to the girls' side?
Yeah, the girls' side, not much has changed. Bangor, Chevrolet, Oxford Hills, none of the 3 has lost. Chevrolet, in the last week, Chevrolet lost their opener at Bangor, and that's it. They're all right now. Bangor and Oxford Hills is 7-0. They played twice at the end of the season, and Chevrolet is 7-1. Those are the 3 teams. Bangor, Chevrolet, again, they've got Lizotte and they've got Fitzpatrick, Matty Fitzpatrick and Emma Lizotte, all state players. Fitzpatrick, of course, going to Maine.
Yeah.
And they lost, but they lost some quality seniors. But again, new players are getting valuable experience. They've got 2 transfers from South Portland. So, you know, they're going to get significantly better. So I think it's if Bangor needs depth, they really do, because they need. And they showed it against Brewer, but I mean, they were up 20-0. So I mean, but he did get to play. Jay Campbell got to play everybody, and they're athletic. I mean, they can run. I mean, the players they put can all run. I mean, they can press. They used a full court press last night, and just like I said, they got a big on Brewer, and Brewer's going to be good in a couple of years, a year or two. I mean, they're young. Grace LeBrie is a very good inside player. They've got some good players. The Flag girl is a good player. She had 15. Last night, so Allie Flag. So I mean, I think they're gonna be fine down the road, but you know, this year is gonna be tough for them. But you know, Chad LeBrie, the first year coach, doing a real nice job, and they'll get better. But yeah, those 3. Now, I asked Jay Kimball about Wyndham. They beat Wyndham 33-27.
Yeah,
and he said they're legit. I mean, they're right now. Wyndham's 3-4, but they've lost to Oxford Hills by 10 there, by 6 to Bangor, 12 to Thornton, 11 to Gorham. I mean, he said they've got a lot of good soccer players, a lot of good athletes on the team. Because you think when Sarah Talon goes, I mean, they're really hurting. But so they're not in that group, but they're a team come the end of the year.
Yeah,
you know, if you have an off night, Hamden the same way. You know, they got Bella McLaughlin, who had 28 against Bangor, and they've got some other Lucy Wiles, Lauren Voter. They've got some good players, so they're another team. But those are the 2 teams, Hamden Academy, Wyndham, that would be teams that could be problematic in the playoffs. If you don't play well, they could knock you off. But you know, I mean, Oxford Hill still has to be the favorite. I think because they didn't lose nearly as much as Chevrolet did.
Yeah.
And they have Sierra Carson, who's a game changer, first team All Maine, and they have Ella Pelletier inside, sister of Tegan and daughter of Nate, the girls coach. So I think, and they've got some other good players too.
Yeah, Molly Corbett.
Yes,
who can go and guard your best player pretty well.
And I think I meant when I think we talked last week to him, coach said, hey, they could all shoot. He said they must have shot 60%. They beat him in 70-41 a couple of weeks ago. So. That's right now how AA is shaping up. Big game. We're doing this on Wednesday. Tomorrow night, Brunswick at Bangor. It's a crossover game. Brunswick 6-0 in Class A South.
Yeah.
Here at Bangor, 6:30 game against 7-0 Bangor. So that'll be a good test for the Rams. So
yeah.
And again, Abby Quinn is just taking her game to a new level in the inside for them. 18 points against Brewer last night. Emmy Streams going to Maine, one of the best point guards, and was the Class AA North Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they've got Cassidy Island. Taylor Coombs is really starting to come into her own as a senior, but just a very good athlete. You can jump through the roof, aggressive, hard-nosed rebounder. And she's added a scoring touch this year. She's more consistent scorer. So, but like I said, they need more. They're going to need more depth because if Quinn or Streams get in foul trouble or have an off night, you know, they can get by against just about everybody if one of them has an off night.
Right.
But Chevrolet and Oxford Hills said no. I don't think they can. It's going to be tough. So that's how AA is right now.
Yeah. Do you think their Bangor's quickness and their defense can, if they face a Chevrolet and an Oxford Hills in the playoffs, do you think it would be enough, barring foul trouble and whatnot, to get by them?
It'll be interesting to see how Jay Kimball plays it, because he can substitute in players to press. I mean, last night they went full court press for the first half, and Brewer just couldn't. Like I said, Brewer had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. Yeah. But can you press Oxford Hills with Sierra Carson and or you get it to Pelletier at the midcourt, get it to a big at the big court, and she can dribble and give it back to Carson or Corbett. I mean, I don't know. But Bangor can Bangor can get easy points.
Yeah.
They will turn you over,
Mhm.
and because they play such, I mean, they're only giving up 38 points a game, and they played a tough schedule.
Yeah.
They play very good help defense. They move their feet. They're disciplined. They play very good team defense. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what will keep them in. And can they get enough outside scoring?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Quinn will score inside, but can they get enough outside scoring? And that's going to be the big question mark. And can they develop depth?
Right. All right. So we'll move on to
On to A.
A.
Boys.
Yeah.
Brewer and everybody else.
It really is. And it solidified last night. On Tuesday, I went to watch Brewer host Bangor at their place, and they beat them by a lot. And it's just it can be anybody, you know. Brady Saunders, Brewers great wing. He's probably a Mr. Maine basketball. He's probably going to be a finalist. He can do it all. But in the first half, it was Brock Flagg who grabbed a bunch of rebounds, got some blocks, scored 11 points in the first quarter. It can be Ryder Goodwin. It can be Cam Hughes. They can come at you from a whole lot of different angles, and their defense, their press, kind of like we were talking about on some teams in AA. Their press is just phenomenal, and they'll get the ball right back, and then they get right out into transition. Their transition game is fantastic.
Is there a more experienced team?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, they're mostly all seniors that have played together 2 or 3 years, had a ton of success last year. I mean, they didn't lose much in graduation.
No, they didn't. And I think playing those really tough Nokomis games, like the playoff one was close. They beat them at the beginning of the season. Having those eyeballs and just learning how to play in those games, I think is just invaluable this year. And so I think it's really them. And then there's a group of maybe 4 or 5 teams under them trying to fight for second, like Coney and Mount Blue. Nokomis and Brewer play for the first time next Thursday, I believe. That'll be interesting. Nokomis just lost to Lawrence on Tuesday. So
what will Nokomis do?
Nokomis will.
What will they do to Brewer? What will they try to do? Or what will they try to establish?
They like to press too. They have a really good defense. Madden White's gonna have to be efficient on the offensive end because he can score. But
so they don't have the weapons as many as Brewer, correct?
Not as many as Brewer.
Okay.
No, Alex Grant, their point guard's really good. He's gonna have to step up, but Evan Neto, the Brewer point guard, has gotten better every time I've seen him. So it's an uphill battle for most teams against Brewer. I really think it's in boys basketball in Maine, it's Brewer and Oxford Hills, and then it's everyone else. So we'll see. I'm very excited to see Nokomis and Madden White try to battle against that Brewer team. But we talked about it last week. Brewer beat Mount Blue by 30 down in Augusta, and Mount Blue did have Evan Sterling, who's been scoring 25-30 points a game, and they shut him down. So they're experienced. They didn't really lose much, and that Brady Saunders does it all on both sides. So,
and the only flag that is in there that they deal with is their own.
Yeah, their own.
They don't have to deal with any other flags.
No, right.
The only flag is their own.
Right. Finally, yes. No, and Brock Flag's a really good piece to that puzzle. So I'll be interested next week to see that Brewer Nokomis game. And then Skowhegan has won 4 in a row after losing their first 3. So they're kind of on the right track, which
but I mean, they're not. I mean, they weren't picked first. They were picked first for a reason. So even though they get off to a slow start, I mean, the coaches must feel that there's some serious talent on that team.
Yeah.
And maybe they had issues early on that maybe they've solved now.
Right, exactly. So
maybe they've got getting better guard plays. What I heard.
Yeah. I'll need to look into it on tomorrow, Thursday. Skowhegan plays Nokomis, so that'll be
a good game.
That'll be a good test for both sides. So girls A North.
I mean, ditto. I mean, from last week, I mean, Gardner is 6-0, Lawrence is 5-2. Lawrence lost to Gardner by 4. They lost to Bangor. And so I mean they're legit. I mean, I really like them. I really do. And then third place in the heel points right now is Coney. They're 5-2, but they lost by 25 to Gardner and lost by 16 to Lawrence. So I mean, no, we don't know we don't, I mean, maybe they just had an off night, but right now, those are the two. The team that's kind of interesting, that's intriguing is Nokomis. I mean, they're 4-2. And they've lost to Bangor and by 8. They lost to Bangor by 18, but they lost to Lawrence by 11. Nokomis is a team that, if any of the rest of the pack, the other 8 behind Gardner and Lawrence, I would say Nokomis might be the team that could pull off an upset. They've had some good wins. Like I said, they've only lost to an undefeated AA team and to Lawrence. So I mean, they could be a factor, but it's just hard seeing anybody else. I mean, Skowhegan's 4-3, but we know what they lost. And then when Callaway LePage went down for the season with me, totally different. And they do have the Morris twins, but I mean, so yeah, I mean, I just think Gardner and Lawrence are. I would be shocked if they're not the 2 teams playing for the Class A North final. I mean, of course, you got Lizzie Gruber at Gardner, the inside player. You got a heck of a coach in Mike Gray. Lizzie's going to St. Joseph's in Philadelphia, and she's a legitimate big. But boy, like I said, I like Lauren. I really like Hope Bouchard. Yeah, very quick. I mean, she can score so many different ways. She got in foul trouble against Bangor, that really hurt them. But and then they've got other, Brianna Poulin. I mean, they've got a lot of other good players. Elizabeth Promet. So and they had depth. I mean, Greg Chessie, when he put players in, they didn't look out of place at all. So they lost by 4 at Gardner. They got a rematch later in the year in Fairfield. So that'll be fascinating. But yeah, those are in A North. Those are the 2 teams to beat.
Yeah, and it looks like you mentioned it. Lawrence beat Nokomis on Tuesday yesterday, and Mike Mandel wrote a story on it from the Kennebec Journal, and Lawrence went on a 28-4 run midway through the game to come back and put the game away. So I think you're right. If there was a team that would battle with these groups, with these 2 groups, it'd probably be Nokomis. It does look like it's a kind of maybe a 2-team race. With
Nokomis being the 1 team. So right now they'd be bracketed, it was way ahead of time, but they're in a 4th spot. They're behind Coney. They'd be bracketed with Gardner right now. So but yeah, I just Mike LeBlanc at Skowhegan, I covered him when he was pitching, a relief pitcher, a relief ace for the Black Bears, Maine. He's very, very good. And they'll scrap. Skowhegan will scrap. I mean, they don't have the offensive weapons, but they'll scrap. So, I mean, that's pretty much, that's what we're looking at, Nay. How about B boys? Yeah,
B North is another fun class. I watched last week Ellsworth and Orono at Ellsworth. Ellsworth won by, what did they win by? 11. Yeah. And then they had to play Caribou, and that was right after they got a 2-point win over Old Town. Yeah. It's a fun group. It's Ellsworth at the top, 8-0, and then Winslow, Orono, and Old Town. It's a kind of a 4-team race. Orono and Ellsworth played in that B North final last year, and Ellsworth just had an incredible team and beat them by I think 20 or 30. But it was a lot closer last week, and but that Chance Mercier at Ellsworth, I had heard a lot about him coming into the season, and he's the real deal. He can shoot, he can defend, score, just like all the great ones that in Maine right now. He can do it all. But that Orono team brings a lot of those football guys over to the basketball team, like Pierce Walston, probably their best scorer. Will Francis, who's a sophomore, is just a crazy athletic guy, just does it all. And then Ben Francis, his brother, can shoot. So that's a fun team. I haven't seen Old Town yet, but they're 5-2, almost knocked off Ellsworth, and Winslow has that Jason Reynolds, who scores 30 something a night, it seems. So
you go a long way with a pure scorer. You can average 28, 30 points a night, because even if because you're going to have to double team them, and but the key for Winslow will be, can they get supplemental scoring? Right. Because if they have supplemental scores, because Reynolds is going to get the best defender on every team. And get help, and the defender is going to get help, so there'll be 2 on him. Exactly. Can Winslow take advantage of that? And again, that's the beauty of some some of our classes, like B and A and B, is that you have that mix of teams from Eastern Maine, and then you have well, they're all pretty much KVAC teams, but then you have the KVAC, which is basically Waterville, Winslow area.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You got that Central Maine, and when they play each other, I mean, a lot of times they don't meet during the regular season, so that's always intriguing in the tournament.
Right. I'm looking at Winslow's schedule now, and they have a lot of, the Mount Views and MDIs, Lawrence, Levitt, but they don't have Orono, Old Town, Ellsworth, or anyone like that. So we'll have to wait for the playoffs for that. Another team to look at, Foxcroft on Thursday. They play Dexter, who we can get to real quick and see after this, but that'll be a really interesting game. Foxcroft is sitting at 4-2, and they returned a lot from last year. So I'm interested to see how that Thursday night game goes. Don't want to spend too much time on each class, so we'll jump over to the girls.
Okay, and B, Old Town 7-0, and did a week ago a 3-point win over Ellsworth. So we have a contender, Ellsworth, very much so.
There we go.
But Ellsworth turned around and got beat by Caribou, was a team people said that they've got some good young players. Keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
So they're 5-2, they're 4-2, so they're second to Old Town. And then so Caribou beats Ellsworth and loses to Presque Isle.
Okay.
So and Presque Isle right now is 4-4, but Presque Isle Caribou, I mean, it's I know it's an overused cliche, but when you have rivalries, sometimes the unexpected happens.
Yeah.
Especially if there's not a big gap. Now, you and I last night were both at Bangor, and there was a big gap between those two teams.
Right, just two programs at different
levels. Correct.
Yeah.
Right now. So I mean, but when you get teams that are close and it's a rivalry game,
exactly,
and that's what happens. So I would say Old Town. I mean, 7-0. I mean, they were challenged. They were challenged by Ellsworth, 161-58. Old Town again. Sage Evans, the Class B North Player of the Year last year. They've got Michaela Emerson on the outside. They've got a freshman, Taylor Loring. They've got Gabby Cody, Alexis LaGrasse. Those are their starters, and just all good athletes. Evans inside and Emerson outside, and then you got Cody inside, and LaGrasse can hit outside. So I mean, you've got some again, right now they're 7-0, and again we'll see how much they get tested. And then we have, like I said, there's really, everybody else. I mean, Old Town played Maine Central Institute. MCI was 6-1, and Old Town just took care of business. So Old Town just handled them 68-25. So I mean, it's just so right now it's Old Town's division to win. Ellsworth has laid down the gauntlet and said, hey, we're in the picture, we're going to be right there. Andy Pooler and his crew. Washington Academy 7-1, but they played just a week schedule, and the one game they lost, they got absolutely hammered by Old Town. So like I said, so I've just got to say Old Town. It's Old Town. Like I said, Ellsworth, and then Caribou is going to get better. They're a young team, so I would say Old Town is your clear front runner, and then you got Ellsworth close, and Caribou in the same group with Ellsworth. So I mean, I think those are your three teams that are going to contend. So now we're on to C Boys North.
Yeah, C North. So Dexter 7-0, and it seems like you and I have been doing this much longer.
Dexter girls are 7-0.
Yeah, right. And with every passing week, we kind of learn the picture gets a little bit more clear, and it looks like it's Dexter and it's Fort Kent in C North. Dexter is trying to get back to the C game. They lost to that really good Deergo group last year. They're 7-0, and like I mentioned earlier, they play Foxcroft on Thursday, so that'll be they're jumping up to play a B team. But I think that Will Kuzniers, who another guy that can score 20 points, 25 points a game, that's really good to have. And then this Fort Kent team is interesting because I put together, we do at the Bangor Daily News, we do a player of the week poll every week, and I put together players this week, and Ethan Daigle for Fort Kent had 42 points,
Wow.
in a double overtime 73-70 win over Wisdom. And I think he had 15 in the 2 overtimes combined to win. So when you have a guy like that that can score that much and that well, you can play with anybody. So January 10th they play Hodgdon. So that Ethan Daigle versus Hodgdon's Walker Oliver.
Yeah.
That's a scoring matchup. So yeah, at the top, Fort Kent 6-1, Dexter 7-0. We have Callis at 4-1. Haven't played too many games. Sumner's also at 4-1. But if I were to pick the teams that were going to be at the top, maybe in the final at the end of it all, I would say it's Dexter and it's Fort Kent on the boys' side. So what do you have?
Yeah, it's Dexter. It's not, but in Class C North, Dexter is just, Jody Grant preaches team defense.
Yeah.
They suffocate you. They work their tails off on defense. They make you earn every inch of ball possession in court.
Yeah.
And then they're very patient on offense. They wait for the good shot, and then they attack the boards. And Maisie Peach is a good big. Megan was her older sister, great player. Went on to play at Hudson. And they're 7-0, and they beat Penobscot Valley by 3, 44-41. And Hodgdon is 7-0. And again, Dexter and Hodgdon don't play. And Hodgdon, similar to what we were talking about, the boys team has an Oliver. They have Anna Oliver.
Yeah.
Who's a sophomore. She's a
Anna,
terrific player. And again, they're 7-0. Izzy Allen in Central 4-1. She's going to Maine in a couple of years. So they've only lost once. So I mean, I think Callis is 4-3, but I mean everybody else. I mean, in Fort Kent girls just lost by a point to Wisdom, 41-40. But Wisdom's a D school and a very good team and a contender in D. So I would say Dexter's games are always, again, they're holding teams to 24 points a game. So Dexter's games are always 38, 34, 33. Penobscot Valley has very athletic. Hodgdon has a game breaker, game changer, and Oliver. So those are the 3 teams, and those games will be close. I don't think there's a lot to choose between them. They all have their own identity. And then you throw Central in there. Mananoka has played good teams tough, and they've got some length. So I think C's got 4 or 5 teams that are possibly. So unlike what you and I we're looking at, most of our classes are 2 or 3 teams. This has 5 teams. That and they're going to wind up playing each other, and we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. And of course, like we said, right now we're just not sure how it's all going to play out. But like I said, in C, I like C because I think that's right now of all of them, that has more teams capable of winning the Class C North. Right. And now we go on. Last but not least, D North boys.
Yes. Just another player of the week mention on the girls' side. Ethan Daigle for Fort Kent beat Wisdom with a really big game, and Lily Roy.
Yeah, she's very good for Wisdom. Yeah,
she had 26 in that Fort Kent win you mentioned. So.
Yeah, 41-40, and that's a good win for them, because Fort Kent is a good solid C team, and they're a D team. But it's a type of game that you need to win. Yeah, because right now, they're them and Southern Aroostook. Well, I might as well go. Yeah, I'll just go quickly. Sure. Southern Aroostook and Wisdom both 6-0. Wisdom finally got challenged, beat Fort Kent 41-40. Lily Roy, who's one of the best players in D. Yeah, she by far, and a lot of good players with her. And then you got Southern Aroostook, Madison Russell, another elite player in D, and they've got 3 Shields girls, 2 sisters, and a cousin. They
brought back so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think Southern Aroostook and Wisdom are clearly in their own class. Now you may look at Deer Isle Stonington; they're 5-0, and they have been good. Deer Isle Stonington has been the team from the Eastern Maine area that has been a contender. Yeah, but I looked at their schedule and their 5 wins are against teams that are combined 11-23.
Yeah. So
So, and I don't know, I don't see a lot of high quality opponents on their schedule. And that's going to hurt them. So, like I said, pretty much status quo, Southern Aroostook and Wisdom. I would be same as in A North. I would be shocked. I said I'd be shocked if Lawrence and Gardner is not your final. I would be shocked if Wisdom Southern Aroostook is not your final in D North as it was a year ago.
no, that's fair.
Oh no, was it a year? No, it wasn't a year ago. I think they met in the semis last year.
Okay.
Yeah, but
yeah, your
I'm
point
I'm not sure. I can't remember. But anyway, they met in the playoffs, and Southern Aroostook. Actually, they did meet in the final, I believe, and Southern Aroostook won. So, they won 3 of the last 4.
Yeah.
No, actually, they've won 4 in a row. They lost a state game to Greenville, so they've won 4 Northern titles in a row.
Right.
3 state titles.
Yeah.
So you still have to knock them off.
Yeah.
They're carrying the mantelpiece.
Yeah. Yeah. King of the Hill. So
And D North.
yeah,
boys.
D North, the Southern Aroostook boys, just like they both won the state titles last year.
Yeah.
They lost Hunter Burpee last year, but Dylan Burpee's still there, and Southern Aroostook is 6-0 so far. And at the top of D North, and then you have Skank is 5-1, Easton is 7-0, and Machias is 7-0. And again, going through the player of the week stuff.
How about their schedules, man? See that sometimes I feel bad for the down east teams because they're isolated geographically, and they play a lot of their own teams from Washington County, and there are years where it's really thin,
right?
And they really aren't challenged until they get to the tournament.
Yeah, and you look at Machias is 7-0, but they've played this they beat Skank at the beginning, which seems to be a decent win, but then you have wins against Jonesport and Shed and Callis, who just lower teams. They're not playing the Southern Aroostics or anything of the world, but
they were good. They were good. I remember I had them a couple of years ago. They were really young, and they must still have remnants of that team. There were a couple of freshmen that played that they may be juniors or seniors now.
Yeah, I wanted to do some research on the team because they have a Shane Feeney who is a senior, so probably one of those holdovers.
Yes.
He had a 30-point, 12-rebound game against Narragansett, and then a 29-19 game over Eastport. That was a blowout win, but but I mean, they're winning their games that they have and winning them by pretty good margins.
The bottom line too, Adam, there's nothing they can do about it.
Exactly. Right.
Here's your schedule.
Right.
Okay, go play.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure Wisdom and Southern Aroostook girls would love to play a regular season game.
Yeah.
Or 2 games.
Oh yeah.
And they're both in the county, but they don't.
Yeah.
They're locked into schedules.
Yeah, and so many times we talked about it, I think last week, of different areas in Maine where they just play their area and they don't branch out too much, like the MVC, and if you're down east, you're playing a lot of those teams. So you just gotta get ready for the playoffs and hope.
And both of us have heard from coaches that have said that. Said we really a lot of times they tell us off the record because they don't want to come out and just just denigrate their opponents, but they just say we're just not going to be challenged.
Yeah,
we're really worried. I mean, they may have 2 tough games,
right?
And then they get to the tournament. Now all of a sudden they're playing teams from another region that are much better than they've been playing,
right?
And they just but that's just the way it is. That's geography. That's the world we live in. So you just got to make the most of it, and that's why. You have teams schedule preseason games against teams that are a class up that are or 2 classes up,
right?
Just because that's where they're going to get tested, and that's where their weaknesses are going to get exposed, and that's where they can learn what they need to work on going forward with a weak schedule, regular season schedule, but knowing they're going to have to play good teams in the tournament. Yeah,
right. To get better, and like we said, you see it so much where you see a 15-3 2 or 3 seed come in and lose in the first round to a 7 seed, or whatever it
Yeah.
is, you know what I mean?
They
And
played a much tougher schedule.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. So, yeah, but you can only play with who you play, and Machias has been impressive so far. So it's like I said, real quick to wrap it up, just
Sure.
Machias, Easton, Skank, and Southern Rustics at 6-0 in fourth in the heel points. So
Okay, the game you want to talk about, Nokomis Brewer, that's
yeah,
when?
that's next Thursday.
Next Thursday, okay,
I'm very excited for that. I think we might have another video before that one.
yeah,
but,
we will,
but that's all right. And then Foxcroft Dexter Thursday this week should be interesting.
yeah,
And I thought I had another one on Saturday. MCI Orono, just another test for Orono to see kind of where they are.
girls with Bangor Brunswick tomorrow which is Thursday. We're doing this Wednesday, so yeah, that Brunswick 6-0, Bangor 7-0, so that'll be at Redberry Gym at 6:30. Other than that, there again in the next couple weeks, not a lot of marquee matchups.
No.
This week, high school hockey, we had to fill the Alpha on. Bangor beat Brewer 3-2, terrific hockey game.
Yep.
Miles Randall scored a shorthanded goal off a feed from Marc-Andre Perron in overtime. But Bangor then lost to Scarborough 5-2. John Bapps with a 7-1 win over Gardner, Winslow, Waterville. B is pretty wide. Mesalonsky right now is a team to beat in B, but you also have I think Hamden's a factor. They've got a very good goalie in Aaron Donovan and some good players. They got a good top line, and then John Bapst is good, very good. So those are a couple of the teams to contend with. And then Bangor's right there. And then a big huge win for the Penobscot Pioneers. They beat defending state champ Lewiston 7-1, outshot Lewiston 66-9. And again, the Lewiston coach said the only player they had back really was their goalie, and she was terrific. So they're now 5-3. And they're making a statement that they're going to contend. They are going to contend. Jordan Williams, 4 goals and 2 assists. Megan Delahanty, a goal and 5 assists. They're a legitimate contender. So and it's again, as I've said many times, it's great to see the Eastern Maine finally have a varsity girls hockey team. Yeah, right. And they're making the most of it. And they are. Yep. Great. Awesome, Larry. All right. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week. Yeah. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week.